I had quite a few people asking me about what creature mods work on Ragnarok on ARK Survival Ascended, so I made it my mission to discover and showcase my top 10 creature mods you can add to your Ragnarok game to spice up your journey. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Kicking off the list at number 10, I chose the Sunken World Editions from Snappin, which, as you may or may not already know, is a creature mod pack that focuses on TLC in the ocean biome. This pack will add a variety of different species to your map, which includes fish, dinosaurs, mammals, invertebrates, just to name a few, which will take too long to cover here in detail, but there is a nice variety which will definitely be a great addition to Ragnarok's large ocean. The mod also adds its own armor set, which is an early game equivalent to scuba gear. It doesn't give you breathable air like scuba, but it will allow you to regenerate stamina in the water. More additions include new tools, weapons, structures, and a variety of custom resources that will spawn naturally on the map for you to enjoy. There is a lot to sink your teeth into, especially if you are an avid ocean explorer. In at number 9, we have the Husky Wolf from Kaviden, one that I almost didn't add to the list as I kind of feel like the Husky Wolf is a little strong, but I mean, look at them. They are absolutely stunning and have way more color regions than their vanilla counterparts. Speaking of, they are much larger than the vanilla direwolf and share similar stats to the T-Rex, so they are not one to be messed with. You'll find them spawning all around the murder snow in the center of the map and some spots in the scorched earth region. Tamed via typical knockout methods, preferring extraordinary kibble for the best taming effectiveness, which can also be saddled up at level 65. Yes, you can equip them with saddles. The Husky Wolf shares the exact same attacks and abilities as the vanilla wolf, so very strong pack buffs that go up to +4, giving each wolf more damage output and damage resistance, with a designated alpha of the pack to perform a buff in raw. Can sniff out explorer notes and hidden enemies like the Polovia or Rock Golem, for example, and is passive where the rider can see the approximate health of targets below 50% HP, with a white cross gradually turning to red the lower their health gets, sniffing out a carcass with a white broken cross. The only difference between the Husky Wolf and the vanilla wolf is that the Husky Wolf provides weight reduction on a variety of meats and resources like hide and pelt, which is a very nice touch. Being as I love Ragnarok's murder snow so much, I felt like the Husky Wolf would make a great addition to it. In at number 8, we have Arcology New Encounters from Dragonheart 7998. This mod adds variants to almost every tameable and non-tameable creature in the game, fitting your Ragnarok world with a wide variety of beautiful Arcology creature variants, and will most definitely spice up your journey. These variants have a 50% chance to spawn over their vanilla counterparts. The mod also adds an expansive range of new alpha predators, providing the player with better variety and a more challenging experience. Most of these new alphas can be killed for large amounts of XP and some tasty loot, just like the vanilla alpha predators we all know so well. And finally, the mod also adds world bosses, ranging from a Deathworm world boss to Rock Golem or Giga, and even the Alpha Griffin. This gives players an extra challenge and a more immersive survival experience. All of these alphas can be killed for high quality loot, with some even drop-in element. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, Arcology New Encounters is by far my favorite creature mod pack out there today. Taking the number 7 spot, we have the Meraxes from Big Owl, which is a medium to large theropod. You'll find it spawning dotted around the jungles, however the Scorched variant is much easier to find in the southeastern sand dunes. Taming one is actually pretty simple if you've been breeding a lot of creatures, as it does take a liking to tamed babies. Anything around the size of a Rex or Spino works wonders. Drop your baby down in front of it and just rinse and repeat the process until it is tamed. Once tamed, can be saddled up at level 75, roughly sharing similar stats to the T-Rex. However, does have some tricks up its sleeve. Equipped with a regular bite attack and also a directional heavy stomp attack that deals much more damage than the bite. It does also have its own rage mechanic, which it will enter once it takes too much damage. In this state, its damage output is increased for a short duration of time, which does also include a new attack in the form of a stomp to tail swipe to yeet creature into oblivion. It also has a secondary roar, giving it small healing buff, where it can heal small amounts of its health with its bite. The mod also adds a corrupted variant mini boss, which can be summoned from the player's inventory, boasting a 500,000 health pool and hitting like an absolute truck. It can be killed for a ton of tasty loot and some lovely costumes for your own Meraxes, including this animated skin if that tickles your fancy. Seeing the Meraxes rage at nighttime is a sight for sore eyes. In at number 6, we have the Majungasaurus from Lazuli Live. Around the size of a Carno and sharing similar stats to one, spawning in similar locations to the Meraxes, with the Scorched variant being much easier to find in the southeast sand dunes. Taming one is also relatively straightforward, as it is a simple knockout tame, however not as simple as you think. It has a natural high resistance to trank darts and arrows. To get past this, you need to kill and harvest wild Majungas for their parasitic saliva, which once consumed by the player will allow them to deal full torpor damage damage with any tranquilizing weaponry. But if you wanted to, you could skip all this if you own a mantis with high damage wooden clubs, which can easily knock one out without having to consume the parasitic saliva. Once knocked out, it will prefer superior kibble for the best taming effectiveness, and once tamed can be saddled up at level 55. Its bite attack will deal more damage over time the lower the target's health gets, and receiving the rapid regeneration buff upon biting or consuming a carcass, giving it health and stamina regeneration for 20 seconds, the same as the Argentavis. Also having a secondary bite that applies the infested debuff to targets, it can go into two stances: the combat mode, which is standard, and the tracking mode, where the Majungasaurus moves faster, consumes less stamina, and deals less damage. Any creatures affected by the infested debuff can be tracked and will be visible on the map. The mod also adds a new type of ammo to the long neck rifle, the tracking dart, which will also apply the infested debuff and can track targets the same way as the Majungasaurus secondary bite. I actually most recently discovered the Majungasaurus. It was a dino that released before I started showcasing creature mods more frequently, and I'm so glad I backtracked in time to find it, as it is becoming one of my favorite modded theropods out there today, and is a beautiful addition to Ragnarok. In at number 5, we have the Stygimoloch, which also comes from Kavaiden. The Stygi is probably one of my new favourite modded herbivores in the game, and you'll find them spawning rarely in the jungles and grasslands, but are far more common in the mountainous region in the scorched earth biome. Tamed via typical knockout methods, preferring regular kibble for the best taming efficiency, but of course most of us will probably tame our first few on berries. Once tamed, can be saddled up at level 33, giving it a 50 armor rating as opposed to the typical 25 that most saddles offer, donning it with a metal helmet to protect it from all the raminets about to unleash into Ragnarok. They are basically a massive upgrade to the Patchy. Being quite a lot larger in size, the Stygi will offer the player a great early game resource gatherer, able to efficiently gather flint, metal, and a little bit of stone, while also having huge weight reduction for all three. It is also equipped with a tail spin attack, which is great for harvesting berries. Similar to the vanilla Patchy, it does deal torpor with its primary headbutt attack. Admittedly, a little risky to attempt to knock things out with the primary headbutt. However, it can deal torpor to targets much more effectively with its charge attack, so it can aid you in knocking out a wide variety of creatures, and it's also a lot of fun, which is why you should consider using the Stygimoloch on Ragnarok. Everybody loves snow owls, therefore coming in cold at number 4 is the Ragnarok snow owl from Eclipse Modding. You'll find it spawning all over the murder snow in the center of the map, tamed the exact same way as the vanilla snow owl, typical knockout methods, preferring superior kibble for the best taming effectiveness. Once tamed, can be saddled up with the regular snow owl saddle at level 61. And of course, it works the exact same way and shares the same abilities as the vanilla snow owl. Only difference from what I've seen is their colors, which of course are beautiful. So of course, it is a fast flyer, able to dive and swoop like the griffin, which will aid you in navigating the map extremely quickly. Able to heal itself, players, tamed, and wild creatures with its AoE heal, which for me is most useful when you find a wild creature that you want to tame but it's on the verge of death, as you can just heal it up to full and begin tranking it out. It will poop out snow owl pellets, great for fertilizing crops or boosting gacha loot production, and finally equipped with its own infrared vision where all living beings will be highlighted as clear as day. It's a snow owl that naturally spawns on Ragnarok. What more could you ask for? In at number 3 is the Paleo ARK Evolution Apex Predators from Up From the Depths and the Paleo ARK team, which will add the Evo Rex and the Evo Giga to your world. This mod is a huge TLC for the vanilla Rex and Giga, giving them completely fresh new designs, new animations, and attacks. The Paleo mods are always of the highest quality, and this one is by far the best Rex and Giga mod on the market today. This mod will completely replace the vanilla Rex and Giga spawns with their Paleo versions. But if for some reason you did want to uninstall the mod, there is always the option to convert your tamed ones back to vanilla via their radial menus and vice versa. And of course, they spawn in the exact same locations that you find their vanilla counterparts. Rexes typically spawning around jungles, grasslands, and edges of mountains, and Gigas in the highlands, scorched earth dunes, and the open grassland area next to the green obelisk. We'll focus more on the taming methods in this section, as they are totally different taming methods to the vanilla versions. The Evo Rex is tamed similar to the Carcharodontosaurus, tamed passively where you need to drag a creature carcass of at least 150 drag weight toward it. The player can be holding the carcass or just drag and drop it nearby so that it can eat to begin the taming process. It will not be hostile to the survivor or any tamed creatures during this time, proceeding to wander around, wait for it to roar, while standing very still during the roar, which you can then slowly approach it, where you will either have the option to pet it, or feed it a treat which consists of raw meat, raw prime meat, raw mutton, or exceptional kibble. These items do not have to be on your hotbar to be able to feed it. Rinse and repeat the process until the trust bar is full, where you can then ride it and kill as many creatures as you can to increase the taming bar. The Evo Giga is also tamed passively, if you can even call it that. It must be challenged. To begin the taming process, the Giga must be approached while the player is in possession of a Giga heart. It will then sniff the air, indicating that it has sensed your presence. Oh, and by the way, you don't need to be on foot like I was in this clip. It will still be able to sniff the Giga heart, even if you're riding a creature. I just like to live life on the edge. It will then perform a few animations, slapping its tail into the ground and roaring, meaning it is ready to be challenged. The Giga heart will then be removed from your inventory, and a notification will pop up on screen notifying that they have been challenged. To KO the Giga, it gains torpor from biting your tamed creatures, so you will need some tanky tames for this. The creature in the #1 spot in this video is a great example. Admittedly, with the help of a few stacks of sweet veggie cakes for healing, some wyvern milk to force feed the herbivore to nullify the Giga's bleed, and some tactical tucking your tail in between your legs and fleeing while awaiting the wyvern milk cooldown. After a while, the Giga will become tired and knock itself out, which is then tamed via typical feeding methods, preferring exceptional kibble for the best taming effectiveness. I absolutely love these taming methods. Everything about this mod is perfect, which is why I cannot recommend the paleo mods enough. Missing out on the top spot is the Nothosaurus from Moranada, an extremely versatile mount that will aid you in exploring Ragnarok's tough terrain and vast oceans. You'll find them spawning in the northwestern jungle region, and also the jungles and snowy cliff edges at the western part of the central canyon. They are neutral creatures and have a unique taming method, which consists of placing down electrical generators. Once turned on, they become aggressive to the generator and begin attacking it. The more it attacks and destroys generators, the more the taming bar increases. And that's pretty much it. You'll need a good amount of generators depending on the level, and just rinse and repeat until it is tamed, which can then be saddled up at level 48. The Nothosaurus is an exceptional traveling mount, having a decent running speed, however is a much better swimmer and extremely agile in the water, having an array of different attacks including bite attacks, lunge attacks, tail whips, all dealing decent damage. Barrel rolls when swimming. With its quick swimming speed and agility, it can also dive out of the water, covering extreme distances, which is also super fun by the way. The Nothosaurus loves electricity and can utilize it to dish out devastating attacks. Its charge bar can be filled up when being struck by electrical attacks, for example the Electrophorus or the jellyfish, which also means it is immune to their stun and dismount, also gaining a good chunk of charge every time it kills creatures. Once it gains enough electrical charge, it can then dish out the explode attack, which is as devastating as it sounds, dealing some massive damage to any targets in range. It has more utility going its way, where it can scan for silica pearls and harvest them with its bite attack. The Nothosaurus has to be one of the coolest modded creatures I've seen to date. They are just so much fun to use, especially for ocean exploration, which is why I highly recommend it. And well, taking the #1 spot for me is going to be the Civipherium from Wild Waghorn, a creature I was super happy to see spawn on Ragnarok after reading about the mod not receiving any more updates, so I was pleasantly surprised, as this was one of the first creature mods to come about when ASA first released, and remains to still be one of my favourites, unfortunately seemingly being a very rare spawn on Ragnarok, only spawning in the South Scorched Earth region and islands. It is tamed passively, preferring sweet veggie cakes from your final hotbar slot. Once fed, some nearby creatures can become aggressive, which need to be killed. However, being as they don't seem to spawn around the redwoods on Ragnarok, it's pretty smooth sailing and most creatures do not become aggressive, so just rinse and repeat the process until it is tamed. Saddled up at level 71, you will have yourself one of the best traveling and scouting mounts in the game, having great stats across the board, a decent sprint speed, ability to jump small distances, and a regular bite attack that deals decent damage and can be used to efficiently harvest berries, while also having a rear kick attack that deals the same damage but will temporarily slow targets for a duration of time. It also has some amazing defense capabilities going its way. It can go into a crouch stance where it takes reduced damage. I'm pretty sure it does give it around 75% damage resistance, and being as you can wield your weapons when mounted makes this ability super useful for many scenarios. It comes into its own as a scout, and will most definitely become man's best friend when it comes to finding creatures that you are wanting to tame. Firstly, just like Aberration Light Pets, it can detect nearby max level wild creatures, which is visible at the bottom right of your screen. It also has its own infrared vision, just like the snow owl. However, when aiming at creatures, you'll be able to see the creature's stats, mutations, and color regions, just like the awesome spyglass. The Civipherium is useful for so many reasons, which is why I stuck it in the #1 spot. And that's going to be the end of the video for today. I hope you all enjoyed it and found it helpful. And if you did, please don't forget to like, comment, share around, and subscribe for more. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care. Goodbye.